All right, what's going on, guys? It's Fast Cars, Fast Money. Not only is it myself, we got Kev, Rich, and Coop. The boys are back. We finally got all of us back together to record a video. It's been a little hectic the last few weeks with either people traveling or the same day qualifying nonsense with only 2 to 3 hours in between the race. So we could finally get all the videos out like we normally do in a timely manner, and you guys will have plenty of time to analyze our thoughts and hopefully put your lines together as well. So we are heading to Pocono this weekend over in Pennsylvania. This track is pretty unique. It's a triangle, so there's really only 3 turns to it, and there's not really another track on the schedule that you can really compare it to as far as if they ran good at this track, they're going to run good at this one. Pocono is kind of its own animal. But here are some initial thoughts. So this race is only 60 laps. Pocono is a really large track. It takes them a while, basically a minute to get all the way around it. 60 laps, so that basically means there's not a ton of dominator points available. So I would focus more on place differential. There's a higher emphasis on place differential this weekend. We got Kyle Busch back in the truck series. I think this is his last race for the series. So as always, he's going to tilt pricing, but you basically have to play him. Ironically, the ARCA race on Friday is longer than the truck race. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then Pocono is a very technical track. The corners are very flat. There's not a lot of banking. So it really kind of comes down to driver skill to be able to get through those corners efficiently because it sets them up on the long straightaways. And that's where all of the passing happens. So with that being said, we'll hop over to the drivers. Any of you guys want to start with the top range? Any of you guys feeling good about these guys?
Sure. First, I'd like to tell everybody that they can find this spreadsheet on Twitter at FastCarsFM if they'd like to follow us and take a look at the spreadsheet that we put out every week. Take a look at it after we record and take a look at our thoughts on there. So we'll start with Kyle Busch here, 15K. Like Andrew said, this is his last race of the season in the truck series, and we like him a lot. He's starting 22nd, has a lot of space to move forward, and he should be up in the top 5, if not winning the race by the end. So high interest in Kyle. I would say second favorite to win the race is his teammate, John Hunter Nemechek, 11K. We like him a lot too. It's really tough to fit them both in a line without finding a lot of value down low. So we'll talk about that a little later, but these are our top 2 drivers. And I would really, out of everybody in the 10K plus range, those are the 2 I'm gunning for. I'm probably not going to have many shares of Sheldon Creed or Todd Gilliland. Maybe Austin Hill as a GPP play. But the primary objective is to find a way to plug either Kyle Busch or John Hunter Nemechek in or both.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jason. Anytime Kyle Busch is in a truck series race, it basically comes down to whether you're playing him or not. And most times you got to play him, and I don't think this week is any different, especially with him starting 22nd, offering all the place differential, which is kind of what we need since there's not that many laps this week. And like you said, John Hunter Nemechek is basically the only guy up here in this 10K plus range to that has a shot to beat Kyle Busch. The other guys are all right in GPPs, maybe not so Todd Gilliland because there's not a ton of laps to lead. He would have to win the race to really pay off. But, yeah, besides those 2, there's really nobody else above 10K that's probably worth playing this week.
Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think we can probably just move on. I think it's all been said. You're going to play Kyle Busch or John Hunter. Avoid the rest. If you got a 20 max or something, maybe get a little bit of exposure on some of the other guys in case something catastrophic happens and there's an accident or an engine failure or something. You don't want to get totally screwed, but I don't really think we need to talk about Kyle or John Hunter and Nemechek anymore. They're going to probably be the 2 that are going to dominate this race.
Yeah, I think the biggest question you really have to ask yourself is, am I playing these guys together, or am I just playing Kyle Busch by himself, or maybe even John Hunter Nemechek by himself? I think every single race that the 2 of them have been in, one of them has won. I think Kyle Busch has won 2 of those races, and John Hunter Nemechek has won 2 of those. So it'll be interesting to see. They'll probably be competing against one another for the win. So who's going to get the nod there? If you do play them together, it is tough because you really have to get some good value plays, but there are some good value plays. If you just play one of them, it really opens up your line a little bit more to have a little bit more of a balanced play. So with that being said, we'll hop on to some of the other guys that we like. With the 9K range, I really like Grant Enfinger and Christian Eckes. And ironically, Eckes is taking over the 98 truck that Enfinger usually drives, and Enfinger is going back to the 9 truck that we sometimes see Cody Robaugh in. So, like we were saying, place differential is the key this week. You want to jam those place differential plays in. Well, Grant Enfinger is a great driver. Yes, the 9 truck isn't as good as the 98, but he's a good driver, and he can easily wheel this truck to a top 12, top 10 finish. And starting 31st, that's going to be a ton of place differential points. So I think once you get down to this range, you can really start pairing a lot of these guys with Kyle Busch. Same with Christian Eckes. Like, he starts 16th, kind of mid-pack, but this truck is good enough, and Eckes is a good enough driver that he can move forward and also move himself into the top 10. And then everyone else, I just think, starts too close to the front. They don't have enough PD upside to, in my mind, be optimal this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. I think in this range, it's either got to be Enfinger or Christian Eckes just because of the place differential. But in GPPs, I don't mind going for Ryan Preece. We saw him win last week in the 17 truck, and he showed really good speed the entire race. And the DGR cars or DGR trucks are generally pretty fast every week. We see Haley Deegan always running around the top 20, top 15 most of the race. So I got no problems touching Preece in a GPP, but in your single entry or cash lineups, you're definitely looking at Grant Enfinger or Christian Eckes in this range.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there, Rich. I mean, it's the obvious. You're going Kyle and John Hunter. You're pretty much paying for them to get the few dominator points there are and win the race. So you just need to focus on the PD. So, I mean, your obvious choices are Enfinger and X. But I can agree, Priest, you know, I liked him a lot last week, and I mean, he paid off. Again, I wouldn't run him over John Hunter or Kyle, but if you got more lines, it's not a bad idea. And then when it comes to Zane Smith and Ben Rose, I'd probably just avoid them. You're paying $9K for them to be second and third. When you got Kyle and John Hunter, they're probably going to finish first, second. It just doesn't really make sense. I don't see much upside with the two of them.
Yeah, I agree, and I really don't have much to add for this range, or honestly the next range. I'm not too interested in the 8K guys. Out of the 8 and 9K guys, Eckes and Enfinger are the two drivers that I'm targeting as well.
Yeah, looking at this 8K range, it's tough. Like, the only guy that has somewhat of an interesting, grab for me would be Bailey Curry, but $8,700 is a lot to pay for that truck, and it's a lot to pay for Bailey Curry. I think this will be his third time racing in this truck. One time he did really well, and he was impressing a lot of people, and that really spiked his ownership for the next race. And of course, he didn't do well that race. So it's tough to trust that 45 truck. I'd much rather just pay $300 more and try to grab up and get Christian Eckes and that Thor Sport 98. And then Tanner Gray, Friesen, Crafton, not really too interested there. I'd much rather try to target some of the 7K drivers. But what about you, Kev? Do you like anyone in the 8K range?
No, I mean, like you said, I'd just go Curry for the GPP, or not GPP, the PD. Other than that, I mean, I'm not really interested. I think it's going to be really hard to get in this price range if you either going John Hunter and Kyle or one of them and one of those 9K guys. I just think it's going to be hard to fall into this range anyway, and don't like anybody there, so no reason to force it.
Yeah, I really think this range is going to be pretty low owned. We generally like Tanner Gray most weeks. He's just way too expensive this week, starting 17th. It kind of limits his upside a lot. So it's just, and like Kev says, it's really hard to see myself getting back into this range if I'm playing Kyle Busch and Enfinger, Eckes, or John Hunter, Nemechek, or somebody. But if we move down here to the 7K range, Chandler Smith starting 11th. The KBM trucks have been fast, so he should be able to move up into maybe the top 5 by the end of the race. We're not looking for laps led or fast lap. Well, I mean, he could get a couple fast laps moving up through the field a little bit. And then I don't mind Josh Berry. He's in the 25 Rackley truck this week. He's run all right in this truck. I think it's his third or fourth time in the truck. I'm not exactly sure. Byron had issues in this truck last week, so just be aware of that. If you end up on Josh Berry, the mechanical issues are definitely could be a problem with this truck. And then Ty Majeski, he's run pretty well in this truck. I think he's got probably top 8, top 7 upside, maybe that's probably on the higher end. Top 10 would probably be a solid play for him. That would be over 5 times value.
Yeah, for me, I really like Chandler Smith in this range. He's in the same equipment as Kyle Busch and John Hunter Nemechek. He isn't as good of a driver as them, obviously, but the equipment's there. And you need fast trucks with how long these straightaways are. So I'm hoping that the speed that Toyota has shown all year long will just translate over into this track. And it's $7,800. That's if you're playing those top guys, John Hunter Nemechek and Kyle Busch, you need to start dipping down in the 7K, the 6K, and even the 5K range to find value. I think Chandler Smith there is mispriced at 7,800. I think he should be more expensive.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you guys have said, but I will add that I think Johnny Sauter is not a bad GPP play either. He's shown that he can sneak into the top 5 every now and then. And if he does that at 7,300, that's one of the cheaper price tags that he's had on him all season. So I don't mind Johnny Sauter as a GPP play either this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything to add to there, but if we move down in the 6K range, I think is just where you're really going to start to make your gravy this week. I mean, it's pretty obvious top end plays. So, I mean, to differentiate yourself from the rest in those takedown lines, it's going to be whoever nails these cheaper plays. I think we got a lot of good of them. Good ones here. Hocevar is, we'll start with him. He's the most expensive out of the group, starting 13th, offers you a little bit of PD. Not much, should move up a little bit, but then you get that finishing potential. And, if they just nail the setup, he could compete for top 5. I think you're really, the guy I like the most out of this is going to be Derek Cross. I think he's way underpriced. Starting 24th offers you a lot of PD. As long as he doesn't get unlucky again this week, there's no reason he shouldn't be able to move up, be a lot of PD points. And then right below him with Tyler Ankrum, be about the same as him. He offers you some PDs, probably cheaper than he should be. Should move up and has you that potential to really maybe get some couple fast laps as he moves up. Probably nothing crazy, probably not going to lead laps, but I don't think it's going to hurt you either.
Yeah, I think Kraus is a must play this week. He's entirely too cheap. It's almost like they're expecting him to have an issue or drop to the back or something. Because he's been entirely too fast this year to be starting 24th and then priced at 6,500. So I think he's just a phenomenal value. And at 6,500, he's a perfect play to pair with the top drivers in Nemechek and in Busch. And I feel the same way about Ankrum. He's starting 6 spots higher, but really see a similar play here. I think that he also has a lot of potential to move forward. And I think that he just offers a lot of salary relief for a guy that probably should be another $1,000 more expensive or so. So I really, really like those two. And Hocevar's been treating us well all year, and we're ready to plug him back into our lines as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think you guys nailed the top plays in this range. I will touch on Tyler Hill. We've seen him run well in this 56 truck, more so last year than this year. But he's starting 30th. He doesn't really have to do a ton to pay off this price tag, and the truck can definitely finish in the top 20. Honestly, I think he'll probably he might be lower owned compared to Derek Kraus and Tyler Ankrum just based off the price, and people tend to not play Tyler. They tend to lean towards more playing Timmy when he's in the truck. But yeah, I agree with Jason. I think Derek Kraus is going to be the most common pairing with Kyle Busch. When you're starting your lines, it'll probably be people sticking Kyle Busch and then go down and find a value in Derek Kraus and then start going from there. And then I also like Tyler Ankrum as well. He's been getting better this year, so I have no problems with him starting 18th. He can fight for a top 10 by the end of the race.
And then we get down to our favorite range, the punt range. It's always interesting to figure out what punts work and which ones don't work. So from Haley Deegan all the way down to Jennifer Jo Cobb herself, who is $4,500. But for me, there's a couple drivers in here that I really like. Haley Deegan, we've seen her consistently improve as the year has gone on. It's in a DGR truck. So same equipment as Ryan Preece that just won Nashville last week. So we know the equipment is good enough to win. Deegan probably isn't there yet from an experience level wise, but starting 19th, just from a pure finishing potential, her finishing potential is a lot higher than everyone else's in this range. The other person I really like is Austin Wayne Self. It's basically the same play as Haley Deegan, just starts a couple spots further back. So there's a couple more place differential points to potentially earn, and it's $100 cheaper. Not that that might make or break your line, but anywhere you can save salary is going to help you out. And then all the other ones are okay, but I'm going to really try my best not to go below Austin Wayne Self. It just might get a little bit difficult if you are playing both Kyle Busch and John Hunter Nemechek, because then they're obviously eating up a lot of your salary. So you really got to find some of these lower priced value plays. But I guess we'll start with you, Rich. What punt plays down here do you like?
I really like Brian Balzat. I believe that's how you say his last name. Not 100% sure on that. He starts dead last this week. He's raced here, racing a truck at Pocono 3 times before. He's finished 26 or better every single time. That would be over 5 times value at that spot. So I have no problem touching him. He's might be more of an attrition play than he is like a guy in a great car that's going to race up through the field. But I mean, you're going to need value if you're playing Kyle Busch. I have no problems playing him. He would probably be the lowest I would go this week for punt value.
I agree. I really like Balzat this week to pair with Kyle Busch or John Hunter Nemechek. Mostly Kyle Busch if you're going down this low. If you really need salary relief, he's the guy below 5,500 that I prefer, and he's probably the only driver I would choose below 5,500. Really like Austin Wayne Self. He's been having a good year. He's got a couple top 10s on the year, and I'm not quite sure why he's below 6K, to be quite honest. I think he deserves to be priced up a little bit. I think it's a good value for starting 21st. I think the vast majority of the races he's finished better than what his starting position is this week. And at $5,800, if he's moving forward and getting into the top 20, maybe breaking a top 15, I'm into it. And I prefer him slightly over Deegan. But as you said, Andrew, pretty similar play there. But Austin Wayne Self, if you're right there and you got 6K left and you have to choose between all these lower drivers, Austin Wayne Self is my favorite. And then probably closely followed by Deegan, and then Balzat if you need to go even lower because you plugged in Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I agree with you guys, but I'm just going to touch on Haley Deegan real quick. I know last week she held my line back a little bit, but it's DFS and there's a lot of recency bias. So that could help lower her ownership a little bit, help differentiate yourself a little bit. I don't see that happening again. I don't see any reason why she should have a week like she did last week. She's pretty consistent. Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that recency bias. So don't be afraid of her just because she had a bad week last week. Let everybody else be afraid and try to catch her at slightly lower ownership.
All right, so that'll do it for the Pocono Truck Series race. As soon as you guys are done with this one, any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments below, or like Coop was saying, you can find us over on Twitter. We'll update this spreadsheet right before the slate locks in case our thoughts change at all, or we find some new information that we think, will change our initial thoughts from this video. But once you're done, feel free to stay on the channel and you can check out our Xfinity video.